Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to our 2 o'clock Commissioners' Consent Agenda. It is November 8th, 2022. Let the record reflect that all 3 commissioners are present, as well as our executive management team.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to our 2 o'clock.
There were no comments that were received today, written comments for the consent agenda items. I do want to note that we're striking item number 2M on today's agenda.
Executive management team. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to
And so then I will, and we will take a separate presentation on 2U, but we will start with our open public forum. So this is for anyone who wishes to testify on anything other than what is on our agenda today. And we will take a separate first call for anyone wishing to come down and testify on our open public forum. So this is for anyone who wishes to second call for anyone wishing to testify on our open public forum.
on our agenda today. And we will take a
No one online. I don't see anyone here. Third and final call. And I will close the open public forum, seeing nobody come forward or nobody online. And then we will then start with a presentation on item number 2U, which is Josh Grote and Ashley Cameron. And I will close the open public forum, seeing nobody come forward or nobody online. And then we will then start with a presentation on item number 2U, which is Josh Grote and Ashley Cameron.
Thank you.
And I will close the open public forum.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm happy to present to you this afternoon that we have closed negotiations with the Master Coalition Group, and we have reached an agreement with them on a new contract that will go through December 31st, 2024. And we are presented to you for your consideration and potential adoption of this agreement. And we have reached an agreement with them. So just a little reminder about the Master Coalition. This is a group that comprises of 3 bargaining units, all represented by Council 2. It is Locals 1135, which is our road maintenance department, 1553, which is our administrative and support staff throughout the entire county, and Local 492J, which is our juvenile detention facility employees, which are correction officers and juvenile probation. In total, about 625 employees are represented by this agreement. We began negotiations on January 31st of 2022. At that time, we were meeting almost weekly, and we continue to meet weekly for thereabouts up until we reached an agreement in September, or sorry, October 5th. We met for a total of 24 sessions. Of those sessions, 12 were done open negotiations, where we posted the proposals, posted minutes, and 12 were done in closed mediation sessions. Or sorry, October 5th. We met for a total of 24 sessions. Of those sessions, 12 were done. So as I stated, this is a 4-year contract that will go through December 31st of 2024. All changes will begin upon full ratification and approval by the board, and they would be moving forward. So additional costs for this contract, because there was no contract in year 2021, there is no additional cost for that year. For the rest of 2022, it is approximately $1.4 million. And year 3 is approximately 2.7, and year 4 is approximately 2.6. There is no additional cost for that year. For the rest of 2022, it is approximately. So the benefits for the employees that they got out of the negotiations, the additional holiday of Juneteenth, which will begin being observed in year 2023. Adoption of the classification study. This was the final group to adopt that. And because those scales were behind, we did increase them about 3% this year, 3% in 2023, and 3% in 2024. These increased wages help align positions to be more competitive, so we're able to retain our current employees and attract new candidates to the county. They did receive a one-time lump sum payment of $1,250 because the membership voted to approve the agreement before October 31st of 2022. One other aspect is that the employees, we were able to negotiate more flexibility because that is a request that we have received from many departments and the employees to vary their hours through the week, but still maintain their 40 hours. So we're able to update the language on that, and we were able to maintain the benefits such as the HMO, the PPO, and the multiple dental plan options that currently the employees receive. Maintain their 40 hours. So we're able to update the language. So other contractual changes that we made during this round of negotiation are similar to other bargaining units. We were able to negotiate new language regarding our health insurance plans to allow us to make changes during the term of the agreement, but maintain adequate coverage for the employees. We were able to negotiate the ability to introduce a lag or normal pay payroll system during the term of this contract. Effective January 1st, 2023, the FSL or FLSA exempt and non-exempt positions will be appropriately reflected as such. During the term of this contract, we were able to negotiate new grievance language that takes our liability back 1 year from the time the grievance is filed. Previously, that was uncapped. We were able to negotiate many areas of cleanup and increase flexibility and efficiencies within this contract that will positively impact county operations and our Spokane citizens. We updated the reclassification process from an employee and union-driven process to more of a management and HR-driven process. And once again, because of the adoption of the classification study and the negotiated COLAs, we're now able to offer market-competitive wages to retain our current employees and attract new candidates to Spokane County, helping our departments and their staffing. Because of the adoption of the classification study and the negotiated COLAs, we're now able
Commissioners,
to offer
we just wanted to recognize that this is the last contract that we needed to negotiate in the last 2 years. So we, as long as you adopt this and it's ratified, this will close out our major contract negotiations. Moving forward, we have a small handful of supplemental agreements that we'll work through in relation to the Master Coalition. But this is a huge win for our employees. They're finally going to be receiving pay and benefits that adequately reflect the amazing work that they do for us and in our community. So we are very excited with the progress that was made over the last 10 months of consistent negotiations. And we are very excited to see our employees, such a large group of our employees, have a contract that has been agreed upon through the membership. Very excited. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them for you. 10 months of consistent negotiations, and we are very excited to see our employees, such a large group of our employees, have a contract that has been agreed upon through the
Generally, the
membership.
unions don't
If you
disclose
have any
that,
questions, we'd love to
but
answer
what
them
I've
for you.
learned is
10
that
months
it
of
was
consistent
passed by a
negotiations,
significant
and
margin
we
of
are very
employees
excited
covered by
to
the
see
Master
our
Coalition.
employees, such a large group of our employees, have a contract that has been agreed upon through the
Generally, the
membership.
unions don't disclose
I'll just say,
that,
great
but
work.
what I've learned is that
I mean, I know you guys have
passed by a
put
significant
countless, a countless amount of time into this. So well done. Thank you for all your hard work, and we can just forward from here. And I think it's a win-win. I mean, I know you
Thank you,
guys
Commissioner.
have put countless.
Yeah, and I just want to echo that thank you for all the hard work, and nice to have this last one done. So congratulations before the end of the year to get, I know it's a significant amount, both of you being new to this process, it's a significant amount of contracts that we would be taking care of. So thank you for your perseverance and your hard work.
Congratulations before the end of the year to get, I know it's a
Thank you very
significant amount,
much.
both of you being new
So
to
with
this
that, then I will
process.
look to my fellow
Significant amount of
commissioners
contracts
for
that
the
we're
rest of the consent agenda
taking care of.
items.
So thank you for
So,
your
Madam Chair, I would
perseverance and
move
hard
that
work.
we approve items 2A
Thank you very much.
through
So with that, then I will look to my fellow
2U,
commissioners for the
excluding
rest of the
2M,
consent
like in
agenda
Michael, as they appear on today's agenda. Approve items 2A,
Thank
Do
you
we
very
want
much.
to take V
So
as well?
with that, then I will look to my
2U,
Mine has a V.
excluding
Because
2M.
I don't have a B.
Michael. I don't have a B.
Oh,
As
mine
they appear
mine has
on
a.
today's agenda.
Okay.
2A,
Let me see if that was the old one.
2U,
Mine has a V.
excluding.
Because I don't have a B. We will double check.
Now I
on that.
have one that ends at U.
It should be 13 years.
Okay.
That was.
Okay.
Sorry.
This new copy, I will second your motion.
I have a motion and a second to accept items 2A through 2U as presented on today's agenda, but striking 2M. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes
Except items
unanimously.
2A
Thank you very much. That will then take
as
us
presented
to
on
our
today's
public
agenda,
hearing items.
but striking
So our first public hearing item is item number 3A in the matter concerning the proposal to dispose of certain miscellaneous personal county property by auction, recycling, or destruction, project number P13115.
So our first public hearing
I
item
believe
is
I saw
item number
Carrie.
3A in the matter
Hi, there is Carrie
concerning the
Masano on
proposal to dispose
on
of certain
Zoom.
miscellaneous
I will let you
personal county
present.
property by auction, recycling, or destruction, project number P13115.
Carrie, you're muted.
So our first public hearing item
believe
is
I saw
item number
Carrie.
3A in the matter
Hi, there is Carrie
concerning the
Masano on
proposal to dispose
on
of
Zoom.
certain miscellaneous
I will let you
personal county
present.
property by auction, recycling, or destruction, project number P13115.
Carrie, you're muted.
Hearing item is
I saw Carrie. Hi, there is Carrie Masano on Zoom. I will let you present.
As specified by
Carrie,
the
you're muted.
All IT items have been approved by the Information Technology Director, and after salvaging any usable parts are being recycled. I respectfully request that you approve these items and their disposition. Any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I guess I will note that we're having audio or video issues, right? So apologize that you can't see what is happening in the hearing room, but I can assure you we are all here. So this is a public hearing item, and so I will open it up for anyone wishing to testify on item number 3A. Apologize that you can't see what first call, happening in the hearing room, but I can assure you we are all second call for anyone wishing to testify.
So this is a
Seeing
public
no one
hearing
online
item,
or
and
no
so
one in
I
the
will open
audience.
it up
Third
for
and
anyone
final call for anyone wishing to
on
testify.
item number 3A.
Seeing none online or in the audience, I will close the public testimony and look to my fellow commissioners. For anyone wishing to testify.
So this is a
Seeing
public
no one
hearing
online
item,
or no
so
one
I
in
will
the
open
audience.
Madam Chair, I would move that
Seeing none online.
in the matter
or in
concerning the
audience, I will close
proposal
public
to
testimony
dispose
and
of
look to my
certain
fellow
miscellaneous
commissioners.
personal county property by auction, recycling, and or destruction, project number P 13115, I've moved for approval.
I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 3A as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That will take us to item number 3B on today's agenda, which is a public hearing item in the matter of the adoption of the 2023 to 2028 six-year transportation improvement program for the Spokane County Public Works Department. And we have County Road Engineer Matt Zerkor.
Which is a public hearing item in the
Good
matter of
afternoon,
the adoption
Commissioners.
of the
Matt Zerkor,
2023
Spokane
to
County Public Works.
2028
I'm
six-year
very happy today to be showing you our
improvement
six-year
program for the
plan
Spokane
with the
County
focus
Public
being on the
Works.
And we
2023
have County Road
construction
Engineer
plan.
Matt Zerkor.
This first slide is really just to demonstrate kind of the array of projects that we are going to build next year. And you can see the bulk of it is in urban road construction, the first line, in rural construction projects, which is rural road projects. Between the two, that's 20 million of the overall 37 million. We also have 8 million, primarily in two large bridge projects, and then some miscellaneous traffic safety and pathway projects, and a fairly large stormwater budget too. That's 20 million. The next slide. 37 million. We also have 8 million. In terms of where we got our money from this year, you could see that the bulk of it came from federal sources, almost 18 million. State was 6 million, and other BNSF primarily for the Euclid Road Bridge was a little over 2 million. And our county portion was 11 million, and we always like to take a moment and point out that for every dollar that gets spent of county money, we get $3.33 this year of other funding, which is just really a tribute to our folks that go out and get our grants for us and the quality of the projects that they submit. So hats off to them. We appreciate those efforts. Next slide. This is a list of the major construction projects for next year. You can see at the top, Bigelow Gulch. Project 2 is obviously one we're very excited. It'll complete that corridor, which has been a long time coming, and a very needed safety and traffic improvement for the community. In addition to that, we have 57th Avenue. It's a preservation project, and this is essentially from Regal east to Glenrose. And inside of that, we will also have the Freya Roundabout project. And we'll talk in more detail about these projects too in a minute. Lincoln Street, Columbia Drive, which is the other portion of Columbia that we didn't build last year. OTIS Orchards, that's a safe route to school project. The Euclid Road Bridge, that's long awaited. Lincoln Street, Brooks Road,
Columbia
the
Drive,
Reconstruction,
which is the other
Little
portion of
Spokane,
Columbia
and
that we
West
didn't
Terrace.
build last year.
Next slide.
OTIS Orchards.
So
that's a
Bigelow
safe route
Gulch
to
Phase
school
2,
project.
this is the
Euclid
portion
Road
that
Bridge,
runs
that's
from
long-awaited. Lincoln
the
Street,
extension of
Brooks Road,
Francis that we completed a
Reconstruction,
long time ago
Little Spokane, and
over
West
to
Terrace.
essentially Wiley and Bradley Road there. You can see the
Bigelow
intersection.
Gulch Phase 2,
And this will
is
complete the entire
portion that
corridor.
runs.
It's a major project. We anticipate it likely taking 2 years. In all likelihood, the bulk of the work could be done offline next year, and we're exploring that opportunity now. But it will widen it, realign it, make 4 lanes of travel. It'll be a vast improvement. You can see the Serpentine project, the existing roadway underneath, with all the challenges for sight distance and being only 2 lanes wide and the grade changes. This will be a really good improvement for the community. We're very excited to bring it to conclusion. Next slide. In terms of funding for Bigelow, we looked high and low and looked under every rock and had a lot of help from the commissioners in particular in securing this funding. You can see that STBG and HSIP money, we call it, was $3.4 million, which was a little over a fifth of it. CRAB was another fifth, which is the County Road Administration Board. FMCIB, Freight Mobility, for 15%. NHFP was $6 million. They filled that final hole for us, and that was we had that programmed for county money, so that was a very welcome addition to the program. And in terms of county dollars, we're only at 7%. We're a little over $1 million out of a $15 million project. So that was another really good project in terms of securing grants to pay for that. And we're going to go out to bid either late this year or early next year. And construction will start in the spring, and as I mentioned earlier, we anticipate wrapping it up in 2024. Next slide. This is our 57th Avenue project, and again, you can see the actual road it starts out is Mount Vernon, which is just west of Regal Road, and extends down to the Palouse Highway intersection on the east end. And I think I said that wrong before. It doesn't go to Glen Rose. It's just going to Palouse Highway. We are looking at possibly extending it, but that's a little up in the air depending on funding. And in terms of funding for this one, it was a little over 3/4 TIB funding, and the rest of it being county dollars. And again, we're going to put this out to bid in the spring and anticipate having it open to traffic next year. Next slide. Inside of this project at Freya and 57th, we're going to put in a roundabout, and we're working on the right-of-way acquisition, which is only one property in the northeast corner of the roundabout. And we hope to have that secured soon. As soon as we do, we'd like to get it out the door and get it on bid. And again, we'll hope to have this coincide with the construction on 57, so we only inconvenience the traveling public one time. We've reached out to utilities to make sure there's not other work that should be done in the area at the same time. And the funding for this was CMAQ money, congestion management money, and that was 60% and 40% county dollars. And it's a $1.2 million project. And like the other ones, this should go out and be completed next year. Next slide. This is our Lincoln Road project. It extends from Crestline to Market, and you can see in the picture there on the lower right, the road's in pretty tough shape right now. It'll be a really good project. The area to the north is primarily industrial, and the area to the south is primarily residential, so it's kind of a transitional type area. And the improvement itself is going to be 2 13-foot lanes, as you can see in the lower left there, with 4.5-foot wide swales on each side to handle the stormwater drainage, and a 10-foot wide shared use path along the south side of the road. And this one, similar to the other ones, we're going to bid it as soon as we can here and hopefully have it open to the traffic late next year, fall. Next slide. And again, this is Columbia Drive. We call it Project 1. It's actually the second project that we're building, just the way they numbered them originally when we first put them in the plan. But it extends from the newly constructed road that was built with the development on the west end. There's no actual road that it ends at, but you can, if you're ever out there, there's a brand new shiny road that was part of the subdivision, and that extends east to Northwood Road, and that'll tie into the previously improved portion of Columbia. And this is all county dollars. For preservation, that's not uncommon that we need to kick in county dollars, especially on roads like this one that function more as a collector. They aren't as viable in terms of grant projects as some of our more major arterials. And we're going to bid this one in March, and this should be a pretty quick project. It'll be open by fall. That's the expectation. You can see there we're also going to add a little traffic calming. If you look at the cross section at the bottom, we had done that with phase 1 if you've been out to Northwood, and it was a pretty long discussion with the neighborhood. They're represented by a number of different HOAs in Northwood, and they really wanted something to try and help slow people down on Columbia. It's a very wide road and very open in places, and the speeds get pretty high. It's been kind of an ongoing enforcement issue. We installed some islands. You can just see the end of one there in that middle picture, and that's been helpful. We've been told by the neighborhood that between the striping, kind of narrowing the effect of the road with the striping, and adding the channelization, it's had a calming effect, and they feel that speeds have come down. Okay, next slide, please. This is our Safe Routes to School project. It's out on Wellesley in the Otis Orchards area. And this is Safe Routes to School state funding that we've received. And you can see it's 90%, 92% their money and only 8% county money. So it's always nice when we get those. And that's similar to some bridge projects that we get 100% funding on if we can deliver them quickly, which depending on right-of-way needs sometimes is something we can do. And we always want to do that, obviously. It's nice to free up those dollars and put them back into other projects. And this will improve the safety of the school children walking to and from the elementary that's located there on the south side of Wellesley. We're going to add new sidewalk, flashing beacons, and narrow the crossing distances. And the next slide, I think, shows that in a little more detail. And if you kind of look along Wellesley there, you'll see the bulb outs, and that's what narrows the crossing distance for the kids crossing the street. And also we'll put in some swales and a separated sidewalk along the north side of Wellesley. All right, next slide, please. And Euclid Road Bridge. This is one we're very excited to be bringing to closure. We've worked a long time, and Commissioner French has helped substantially in trying to get this project pushed along. We have a contractor, and we are ready to go on this one. We're going through a couple of final submittals with BNSF, and then we're going to be out there taking out the old. See there, BNSF provided $2.6 million of the $3.6 million, and that $1 million a county project that involves also a substantial amount of contingency. It'll be predominantly funded by BNSF. And that one we hope to have open to traffic by fall of 2023 also. The neighborhood's very anxious, as are we, to get the traffic off of Newkirk and all the maintenance issues that has brought about. Next slide. This is Brooks Road. This will be one of 2 projects on Brooks Road that'll widen and resurface Brooks. You can see in the cross section at the bottom, we're gonna have 2 12-foot lanes and 6-foot shoulders. And this is the southern half of the project, and it runs from the Medical Lake city limits up to, I believe that's Thorpe Road. And it'll be a good project. You can see we had a number of funding sources, STP and RAP, and county dollars are only 15%, so it's another good effort by the team on getting grant money for that project. Next one. Little Spokane Bridge. We've had a number of bridges on the Little Spokane that we've done. They're all getting to that age where they're needing replaced and they're getting restrictions placed on them. And this is one that we have the federal bridge program funding for. $2.9 million and 1.1 of county dollars for a total of a $4 million bridge project. And this one, again, we hope to have open in November of 2023. And they are working on right-of-way right now, so going out to bid is hinging on getting that right-of-way completed. They're about halfway through the right-of-way acquisition process. Next slide. West Terra Stormwater Project. This is an ARP-funded project. You can see there at the bottom, $5.5 million of it comes from ARP. That's 100% of the funding. We're very grateful to the board for allocating that money. These infrastructure projects, especially this one, there was no other source of revenue available in terms of grant dollars. Our stormwater utility, the total revenue for the entire utility is about $1.8 million a year, and they have a lot of staff and different programs they have to do in addition to implementing our stormwater permit with ecology. So there's very limited direct county dollars that we could have applied to this, and it would have been very difficult to build this project without that money. So again, just very appreciative of the board.
On this one, Matt, you and I talked, and you've already actually started construction on this project.
Correct.
Yeah, you want to just talk a little bit about that for the record?
You bet, happy to. So phase 1 has already been bid. We have the contractor out there working now. They're crossing Westbow Road, which is the very terminus end of the project, where it's going to discharge into a system that'll move it further north, an existing system. And if you're familiar with the area, Westbow is a concrete road. They've crossed it half at a time, and they're in the process of pouring that back. And then they're also continuing further south and putting in the mainline pipeline that will allow the future connection of the neighborhood with phase 2, which will go out next year. So that's a really good project. That system will not only accommodate the current needs of the area in terms of stormwater, but it's designed to help accommodate future growth in the area too, because it's pretty challenging for stormwater. The best answer is always to move it off the West Plains as quickly as you can, because it doesn't have a tendency of moving down, and keeping it on site just creates nuisances like stormwater lagoons, which aren't much better than sewage lagoons. So we would love to keep those out of neighborhoods, but you have to have some place to send it, and this pipe is giving us a place to send it. So we're very happy to have that project moving forward. You bet. Next slide. This is just a real quick overview of the 2023 through 28 Transportation Improvement Program for the roadways. It includes $190 million in projects, which is an average of $32 million a year. And again, in that, we anticipate very similar to this 2023, we anticipate for every dollar spent, we'll have about $3.50 of other funding, both state and federal. And just as a side note, all the funding for 2023 is secured, and we wouldn't be putting it before you if it wasn't. So I think I have one more. This is just a map kind of showing where the projects are located around the county. The different colors represent different types of projects, bridges and rural and urban. But you can see it's pretty well spread around the county. So that's kind of our goal, is to focus on the road system and kind of treat every area with a certain amount of projects. And that's been pretty well accomplished by the current plan for 23 and also future plans. And I think that's it. So I appreciate the time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any other questions for Matt?
I just want to emphasize a point that you made a couple times, is that our county staff does an excellent job. In fact, I sit on the County Road Administration Board representing counties in eastern Washington, and I see counties from across the state submit projects and stuff, and I don't think anybody does it as well as Spokane County does. And with the kind of leverage that you're getting for local dollars, I mean, as you said, $3.50 for every local dollar that we're putting in. I mean, that's bringing infrastructure back to this community in a major way. And I just want to say thanks to you and your staff for not only your expertise and your dedication, but for the accomplishments that you've been able to achieve for the county. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I'll just say thanks for all your hard work. I know that's a lot of effort and a lot of work to put together the 6-year plan. So, and make sure that it's distributed throughout the county. So appreciate all that. And, and I think you guys you're doing a great job. So, echoing what Commissioner French said, that to leverage the dollars that you do is pretty amazing. So thanks for all the hard work for your team for accomplishing that for us.
Thank you.
And, considering it's your first year as a county road engineer, so thank you for stepping up and taking on that position as well.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. Chad has big shoes to fill, and I miss him badly, but it's been a great job. And like you said, it's really a team. I can't take any credit for any of this. We have a phenomenal team that goes out and gets the money, then we secure the right of way, do the environmental permitting, and then actually build the projects. And it takes a lot of people, as you all know, and it's really a fantastic team. We're very fortunate.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a public hearing item. So I will open up any other comments or questions for Matt
I almost said Chad, so there we go. Okay, seeing no further questions from us, I will open the public hearing for item number 3B as just presented on today's agenda. First call for anyone wishing to testify. See no one online or anyone in the audience. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing no one come forward or no one online, I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move that we accept the recommendation of our county road engineer in the matter of the adoption of the 2023 through 2028 six-year transportation improvement program for the Spokane County Public Works Department and move for approval.
I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second for item number 3B. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will then take us to item number 4A, which is a continuation of our public roundtables. I want to make sure I'm saying that right, Mark. This is a continuation of our public hearing on our public roundtables for our budget. This is hearing number 2. And so we will continue from hearing number 1. And I will look to Gary to start the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Like you said, this is our second roundtable. Our first one was held on October 11th, and that roundtable dealt with estimation of general fund revenues. And this presentation will deal with our estimates of general fund expenditures. So with that, we'll get started into the slide presentation. Next slide, please. This slide shows the breakdown of the total amount of expenditures that are estimated. At this point, it's estimated to be $234.6 million. And you can see the breakdown in categories on that left-hand side with a little bit of a dashboard presentation, with public safety being the largest component at 124.7, descending in order justice, 43.5, general government, 26.7, parks, 4.5, and then an other category, which is a whole bunch of other things, in total of 35 million. So let's go to the next slide, please, Ron. Tessa, why don't you go ahead and lead us through the public safety
Perfect.
presentation.
Thank you. We will start with our largest public safety department. That is the Jail or Detention Services Department. Their estimated budget for 2023 is $54.9 million, or just shy of $55 million. Of that, they are projected to spend 66% of their budget on salary and benefits, totaling $36.5 million. Detention Services spends their M&O budget primarily on medical costs for inmates and food as well. And the jail employs 320 FTEs, so it's a large operation. Next, we have the sheriff's budget, slotted at $52.7 million currently. Of the sheriff's budget, they spend about 81% of their budget on salary and benefits. The sheriff's office has 311 and a half FTEs. They also provide services to the city of Spokane Valley as a contract. Next is the juvenile services budget. Much smaller in size compared to the jail and the sheriff's office. $7.4 million for 2023. Of that, $6.3 million is salary and benefits. So they have heavily leveraged staff to manage their operation. 92.5 FTEs, and not all of the FTEs are funded by county resources. There are a lot of state grants and contracts that fund the juvenile services budget as well. The next public safety department is animal control, or our scraps sheltering. This is the enforcement and the sheltering piece of the operation. $3.7 million estimated for the 2023 budget. And animal control has 41 FTEs. Other public safety is our last major category of our public safety. And this is comprised of a couple of smaller departments, our Civil Service Division, Emergency Management, Law and Justice Administration, and then Pretrial Services. And all of those departments combined are $5.9 million next year, estimated, with a combined total FTEs of 26.1. Some of those departments only have a couple, though. In total, to recap, the public safety budget is projected to be $124.7 million next year, or 53% of the overall expenditures.
Thank you. Next, we'll go into the justice segment, which represents a total of $43.5 million worth of expenditures. And you can see in descending order here, we'll have the prosecuting attorney, public defense, superior court, district court, counsel for defense, and that's what makes up that category. So the first department here is the prosecuting attorney, and their budget is estimated at $14.3 million, and they have 140.6 FTEs. The makeup of their expenditures is about 95% salaries and benefits, as you can see from that top graph going through. Next slide. Next is public defense, with a total of $9.5 million and 87 FTEs. Their mix is similar to the prosecuting attorney, with about 92% of their costs in salaries and benefits. Third department here represented is Superior Court. They have an estimated budget of $8.6 million and 65 FTEs. Their makeup is a little different. Their salaries and benefits represent 79% of their submitted budgets. Keep in mind that they have, this budget here shows 12 Superior Court judges and 8 court commissioners. Next slide. Now we move on to district court. Their budget's just a little lower than the Superior Court at $6.3 million, and their FTEs are 61 million. They have 8 judges and 0 commissioners. Their makeup for their expenditures is 92% salaries and benefits, for a total of $6.3 million. The next department under the Justice is Clerk of the Superior Court. This is Tim Fitzgerald's department, and he has an estimated budget of $3.3 million with 56 FTEs. Their makeup of their submitted budget is 93% salaries and benefits. And last but not least in that justice category is counsel for defense. Their budget for 2023 is $1.6 million, and they have currently 11 FTEs in their budget. Their salary and benefits represent 93% of their total $1.6 million budget. So to recap on the next slide there, we have the total of that category represented at $43.5 million, and that represents, again, 19% of the total general fund expenditures of $234.6 million. Tessa?
Before you move on, I just want to make sure that I'm reading this right. When you look at Superior Court and District Court, you have basically the difference of 4 FTEs, but a difference of $2.3 million. Those are either very expensive 4 FTEs, or there's some other element out of the district court or the Superior Court that's driving up that cost. You want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Sure. The Superior Court makeup on their total is 79% salaries and benefits. So it's about it's a greater percentage in their M&O budget versus the district court. So their M&O budget for Superior Court is quite a bit more than the district court.
And that is primarily due to the jury management services that Superior Court provides. They pull juries and manage all the costs associated with juries out of Superior Court instead of, as well out of District Court.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have our general government services totaling $26.7 million. And our largest general government department is our facilities department, which manages all of our campus facilities as well as some off-campus facilities. Their budget for 2023 is projected at $8.3 million. Of their $8.3 million, we only spend 33% on salary and benefits. The majority of their M&O costs are for utilities, lights, power, things of that nature, and then our janitorial contracts to keep our facilities in working order. Our next department in general government is our auditor's division. And within the auditor's office, there are 4 separate departments. The makeup is auto licensing, recording, financial services, and elections. And a majority of the M&O budget for the auditor's office is attributable to election services. The total budget for 2023 is projected at $6 million. And that is, again, primarily due to elections and the type of elections that are happening in 2023. Next, we have the assessor's office. The assessor's projected 2023 budget is $4.4 million. The assessor is primarily made up of salary and benefits. 95% of the total budget is attributable to salary and benefits to cover 48 FTEs. The treasurer's office submitted budget is $3 million for 2023. $2.6 million is attributable to cover their 33.2 FTEs in the general fund. The medical examiner's budget for 2023 is also $3 million. And again, a pretty even split with the treasurer, kind of an interesting fact. The medical examiner does only have 19 FTEs, though, compared to the 33 that the treasurer's office has. And last on our list for general government is the commissioner's office, which has a projected budget of $2 million, increasing over 2022 projected actuals due to the addition of 2 new commissioners and 2 new executive assistants, bringing the total FTEs in the commissioner's office for 2023 to 15 FTEs. Overall, the projected budget for general government services in 2023 is $26.7 million.
Thank you. So now we go on to what's called parks and culture, and that's the nomenclature used by the state legislature and in the BARS categories. And so that's what we've used for consistency in our slides. Here, it's not a large category in total. Parks and culture represents 2% of our total general fund expenditure budgets. And that is comprised of parks and cooperative extension. On the park side here, you can see that their estimated budget is an even $4 million with 26 FTEs. Parks includes pools and the ballpark, of course, but I just wanted to let you remind you that the golf is in an enterprise fund and the recreation is in special revenue funds, and so that's a little, I just wanted to call your attention to the fact that those numbers aren't in this general fund expenditure budget. They have 26 FTEs, like I said before, and their salary and benefit ratio to total budget is 62%. And the second department that falls under Parks and Culture is the WSU Cooperative Extension run by Gary Varela. The costs associated with that department of $0.5 million is essentially the contract that we have each year with WSU. And it hasn't varied, but there is some slight escalations from year to year. So that's just a plain and simple contract that we have with WSU Extension. So to recap that is just that total category of Parks and Culture, 2%, $4.5 million.
And finally, our other category. First up is our internal services grouping, a projected budget for 2023 of $19 million. And internal services is comprised of several different departments across the county. It's our executive management team, human resources, purchasing and project management, some IT support for the general fund, the general fund's liability insurance costs, and then long-range planning for 2023. The majority of the increase in the 2023 budget is liability insurance is increasing next year, the contribution to the liability fund. Next up, we have non-departmental. Non-departmental is projected to be $12.2 million in 2023, and that is made up of the Board of Equalization and the hearing examiner that kind of don't have too many other places to slot in. And then our campus and courthouse security and non-departmental debt service, and then kind of contracts that also don't fit within any particular department. And the reason for the large spike in 2020 was due to a few different things. We had the mental health sales tax accounted for in the general fund in non-departmental in the year 2020. We also cash paid for the medical examiner facility in 2020, and that was about $11.7 million. So that was a great investment that we made into that new facility. And then we also had a $3 million road shift in 2020. So that was kind of the majority of that large spike. And then our last other category here is economic development and outside agencies, projected at $4.1 million for 2023. This area consists of most of our chamber dues that we pay for various chambers across our region, support for the health district and tuberculosis support, and then our public development authorities. We have 3 of those across the county that we contribute to as well. The total other category caps in 2023 for $35.3 million, or 15% of the overall budget.
And that brings us to our last slide, which is just a quick recap here, that we anticipate a modest increase in 2023 overall for expenditures of 1.6% increase. The second bullet point that I want to make here is that the largest budgeted expenditure categories are related to public safety, with a 9.3% increase over the 2022 estimated actuals. Those are your 2 largest departments in the general fund, the sheriff and the jail. And a lot of that increase was due to the settlement of the union contracts in this year. That'll be effective next year. And the third bullet point, of course, that all of these expenditure estimates are subject to change prior to budget adoption. So next up, we do have our third and final roundtable scheduled for November 29th, where we'll show all funds in a roll-up fashion, and then we'll also have the property tax levy hearing on that same day. and then with an anticipated budget adoption date of December 5th. Any questions?
Any questions for Gary? No. Thank you very much for the presentation. So this is a public hearing item, so we will take any testimony if anyone would like to speak to our general fund expenditures. So I'll open it up for anyone wishing to testify regarding our general fund expenditures. Star 9 if you're on the phone, or raise your hand function if you're on Zoom. I am not, so first call for anyone wishing to testify. I'm not seeing anyone in the audience come forward. Not seeing anyone online. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing no one. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing no one online or on Zoom or in the audience, I will close. Well, we will continue the public testimony and the hearing for our third item, which will be next November 29th at 2 o'clock for the rest of the funds discussion. So thank you, and we will continue that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Thank you.
I wanted to compliment Gary and Tess. I mean, this was very easy to follow along. Great visuals on the way it was lined up for those watching, on Zoom or watching this later on YouTube. But great layout for the presentation. Very well done.
And I'll have to give all credit to Tessa and staff for doing it. They did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. So Scott, any other items for today?
Yes, I believe we have one executive session item. I'm going to look to Mark to give the background and who's attending.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you, yes. This is an executive session regarding pending potential litigation. This is Sen v. Spokane County. In attendance will be the 3 commissioners, executive management team, the sheriff, Mr. Milkey, Dale Anderson, is that it? And myself. It'll last 10 minutes. We expect there may be action after.
Okay.
Unclear at this point.
So it is 2:52. We will go into executive session for 10 minutes for the item, for the reasons just stated with the people in attendance. We will just stay here in this room. And so, it's 2:53 now. We may have action after, so we will come back after that. Thank you all very much, and we'll